We had an actress pull out at the last minute, and I thought, Heather would be perfect. And she said, I'm in.
And then the next day, Taylor texted me photos, and I wrote back, question mark?
I'm like, this is the movie set. This is your office.
And I said, OMG, were you serious?
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Orange County, Season 17, Episodes 2, 3, and 4. Yes, I know I've been gone for a minute, but I'm back with the jump off. Shout out to Little Kim. But in all seriousness though, it's been a busy time. I've told you guys that the summertime, this is when my social calendar is in full swing. So if I'm a bit late with recaps, especially OC, please don't be upset with me, all right? But we are here. And let me just let you know something right now. Gina, I'm about to wear you out because the way you tried it, you are reaching to have an issue with Jenn. Girl, you just can't help yourself. Tamra, I'm about to wear you out as well because your attitude at your big grown age, you're screaming and yelling at people like you don't have any sense. Shannon is a lot nicer and more patient than I am because I would have been done with Tamra. How dare you speak to me like that and then think that I'm going to accept that raggedy apology? Absolutely not. And Miss Taylor, in this last episode, you are itching to be at full-time status because this argument makes no sense. I don't know why you're mad at Heather in the first place. Heather did nothing wrong. And once again, Tamra, there you are stirring the pot. But you know what, y'all? Let's just get right on into it because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. And a quick disclaimer, since this is a triple recap, please do not be upset if I don't go over every single scene because we have 3 episodes to cover and I need to just only focus on the most important and the scenes that we cared about, okay? So we can talk about those filler scenes down below in the comments. But anyhow, we open up episode 2 with Gina, Emily, and Jen meeting up for dinner. So they want to get to know Jen better since she is the newbie. Emily and Jen bond over the fact that they're both from the Midwest. I think that Emily's from Ohio and Jen is from Oklahoma. So Jen starts bringing up her marriage and where things went wrong. She says that her and Will were sleeping in separate bedrooms prior to them getting divorced. I think she said for the last 2 years of their marriage, they were in separate rooms. I was like, damn. So then she goes on to say that a big reason why she had so many kids was she loved the feeling of being needed and feeling loved. And when she said that, I immediately thought about Bronwyn when she was on OC because Bronwyn also had a lot of kids. Bronwyn had, I think, 7 or 8 kids? And she even admitted that she kept having kids because she wanted that feeling of being loved and being needed. And remember, Jen also has all those pets. They have 6 dogs, 5 cats, I think a parrot or something. I'm like, girl, how do you have time to focus on 5 children and 11 animals at home? I'm like, geesh. So Jen keeps going on about how she wasn't feeling loved in her marriage. Then she reveals that a few weeks ago, when her ex-husband came to OC to see the kids, he actually apologized to her for how he was a bad husband and couldn't love her the way she needed to be loved. So she says that Will doing that provided closure for her. She felt like she was set free, and she really appreciated him doing that. Now, that really is nice to hear that he apologized and he owned up to what he did as a husband, or actually what he didn't do as a husband, because most men, it seems like they can't own up to anything, especially if they were a big reason for why the divorce happened anyway. And when I hear the stats, and I hear that, I think it's 80% of women or 70% of women initiate divorces, I'm like, yeah, I can see that. So now we see Emily saying, okay, girl, that's all cute and well, but let's get to the part where you and Ryan had the affair. So Jen says that it was an emotional affair, that her and Ryan talked every day, but they didn't have sex. Now, personally, I don't believe this story that Jen's trying to sell us about, well, we didn't have a sexual relationship until after my divorce was finalized. I don't believe that. You're talking to this man every day. You guys are going out every day. You're emotionally attached to this man. You're falling in love with this man. Let's just be real. We're all adults here, right? Listen, the minute you get emotionally wrapped up in somebody, 9 times out of 10, the sex is coming right after. Okay, like let's just be real. So for her to say that, oh, well, we just talked every day and it was emotional, it wasn't sexual until after I got divorced, I don't believe that. And then hearing from Tamra and everybody else about how they'd seen and they had heard stories about Jen and Ryan having sex in the back seats of cars and stuff like that. Again, Jen, just come clean. So now Emily says that an emotional affair is worse than a physical one, and how she'd be distraught if Shane ever had an emotional affair. She'd prefer that he cheated on her with like a one night stand in Vegas. Now, Emily, I don't think you have to worry about Shane cheating on you with anybody, if I'm being honest. And again, that's no shade, but I just say, yeah, I think that when it comes to Shane and infidelity, I think that you don't have to worry about Shane. So Gina says in her confessional that she's trying not to judge Jen, but she does feel a bit triggered because she was cheated on by her ex-husband, and how it brings up painful memories. And then she says, on this side, I can walk around with my head held high. Now, Gina, either you're going to be friends with this woman or you're not. But if you're going to sit up here and just judge her the entire time, then what's the point of even trying to get to know her? Also, sis, when you came on OC, you joined this show, what, season 11, season 12? When you joined, I already peeped that something wasn't right in your marriage. And I'm still in shock that you had no idea that he was cheating on you, because if I remember correctly, he refused to film that first season and you had to have his pictures blurred out. You couldn't show his face, couldn't even say his name on camera. And when that happened, I said, I'll bet money that he's cheating. Because the fact that you guys packed up and moved to California, and then all of a sudden he has you and the kids in Orange County, 90 minutes away, and he's in LA in some apartment. And then when you said, oh yeah, well, he works so much and he's gone 6 days out the week, he comes home on Sunday, then he's back in LA on Monday, I said, yeah, he has a girlfriend. It was glaring. It's sort of like Lisa and Lenny on Miami, where it's like, girl, we all saw what was going on. How come you couldn't see it? But that's my biggest issue with Gina. Gina likes to act like she wants to get to know you and give you a chance to be your friend, to turn around and then stab you in the back. But now they change gears, and Gina says that she wants to host this end of summer party. One of her friends let her borrow her boat. Now I said, Gina, is this the same friend who let you borrow her house when you threw that party last season? I said, Gina is always asking somebody for a handout. Always. Always. And this is no shade, but I just said once again, how did Gina get on this show? I am so confused. If somebody could let me know down in the comments. Did she slip a $5 bill under one of the producers' doors or something? Because I'm just confused at all those wealthy women in OC who are dying to be on the show. And they said, let's go with Gina. Now, this scene with Tamra and Shannon meeting up for lunch to try and work out their issues, honestly, this conversation went the way that I thought it would go, because I just knew that nothing would get resolved and they would be at a standstill. So Tamra starts off the conversation, and the way she started off, I said, yeah, it's about to go left. Tamra's like, well, as you know, Shannon, I have been a very good friend to you for many, many, many years. So Shannon says, so have I. And so, of course, Tamra says something smart. She's like, well, have you? The jury's still out on that one. And I'm like, now, Tamra, as two-faced as you are, the way you turn on folks and backstab people, you want to talk about you've been a better friend to Shannon than Shannon's been to you? Sweetheart, you have it twisted. If anything, Shannon has been the much better friend to you than you've been to her. I don't think that Tamra is really capable of being a true friend to anybody. So Tamra starts with her sob story saying, you know that my life was crumbling. It was so hard for me, and you didn't even call and check in on me. So Shannon's like, what are you talking about? I was there, remember? Remember how you called me up telling me about how Simon was going through chemo and you were sneaking to his house trying to bring him food, and you were afraid about Eddie finding out? Like, girl, I was on the phone with you talking you through all this. So don't try to play me like I wasn't there for you. I said, come through, Shannon. You better have your receipts. And so Tamra says, well, all of a sudden the conversation stopped. So Shannon says, that's because you were posting on Instagram that I'm a fake friend. Like, why am I going to talk to you when you're sitting up here subbing me on social media? So here goes Tamra deflecting. She's like, well, did you ever stop to think about why I'm posting that? And it's like, Tamra, that's not the point. The point is, don't sub me on social media when you have my phone number. If you feel a way about me, just call me up and tell me. But you've lost me the minute that you're up here subbing me on Twitter and Instagram. Like, no, you sound crazy. You can't justify that. So they start going back and forth. And Shannon says, again, Tamra, you've said a lot of things to damage my reputation and my character on social media. I don't appreciate that. And one thing I can't stand about Tamra, every time you're making valid points and you're proving her wrong, she wants to sit up there and hit below the belt and go for the jugular, because what she said next was so uncalled for and so unnecessary. She says, but remember, Shannon, when you were married to David, you used to tell me all the time that David thought that you drank too much and he wanted you to stop drinking. So she's low-key implying that Shannon has a problem with alcohol and might need to get some help. This is why you have to be careful about who you tell your problems to. And honestly, I really feel like all your secrets, tell them to your therapist, because they legally cannot disclose what you guys talk about. If you and your parents have a great relationship, you know that your parents won't say anything. Siblings, or your journal. And if you're religious, the good Lord himself. But honestly, I feel like telling secrets or insecurities or problems with friends, it's a gamble. I hate to sound like I'm just so closed off, but I feel like just as the years go by, I'm like, yeah, I only tell people good things now. I don't tell anybody about any past mishaps or embarrassments or anything. Like, no, like if I go through any L's, I'm writing it in my journal. I'm telling my mom. Because if you fall out with that friend tomorrow, best believe your secrets are going to be out in the streets. That's usually what happens. And I just feel like going forward, just for anybody, keep your L's to yourself. Nobody has to know your embarrassments and all that stuff. Like, don't. If you feel compelled to share, again, write it down in your journal and then rip it up. Like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, because the way Tamra brought that up, that's really evil of you. And you already know that she was having a hard time when she was married to David. I would have left. I would have cursed Tamra out and walked away. Like, how dare you? So at this point, they're pretty much at a standstill. Tamra's like, well, I don't know how we can repair our friendship right now. And Shannon says, look, obviously we're going to agree to disagree on things, but let's try and just start over, start on a clean slate. Now, once again, Shannon is a lot nicer than I am, because that wouldn't have happened. I would have said, girl, F you, and walked away.
Oh! Shout out to everybody. I had fun.
I gotta be good.
Because I'll be damned if you try to throw in my face what I told you in confidence about what my ex-husband was saying to me, knowing that I was in a bad situation. Now, this family scene with Jenn, I thought it was really touching. I enjoyed it. I loved finding out more about how she used to be a foster mom, and when she fostered her son Dominic, she said that he knew instantly that he was not going back to the shelter. She said that she drove him to the shelter when he was like 11 months and he started screaming and crying. He was like, no, mama, like, I'm going back home with you. So she said right then and there, she said, okay, like, let me adopt you. So she legally adopted him when he was, I think, 4 or 5. And she says that Dominic is a joy in all of their lives. And I was just so touched. I loved when she was reading the book to him. And I just love that. I do love that Jenn does have a big heart. And she said that a big reason why she wanted to be a foster mom was because she wanted to show her kids that not everybody is as fortunate as they are. But I really love this scene. I got teary-eyed. And I have to say, so far, I'm liking Jenn as a housewife. I think that she's a nice addition. Jenn is giving what Bronwyn was supposed to have gave. So now we get to the night of Gina's boat party, and surprise, surprise, Gina is unable to make it because she has COVID. So Emily's going to be taking over as hostess for the night. So everybody's arriving one by one. Of course, Emily's there setting up the decorations. And now we see Heather and Tamra show up. So Tamra's emotional. She's like, Emily, thank you so much for that nice text that you sent me. Because remember that she's emotional about Cut Fitness closing down. So she's like, again, thank you so much, Emily, for reaching out. And then Tamra says, you would think that Shannon would reach out to me saying something. And I was like, why would she? You guys are barely speaking. You're over there blasting her on social media, calling her fake and phony. You damn near brought up how she might be an alcoholic at that lunch a few days ago, but you expect her to support you and send you words of encouragement because your gym is closing? Like, Tamra, I just don't understand. You have a lot of audacity. So Jenn is also there, and now we see Shannon and Taylor Armstrong arrive. Now, we all remember Taylor. Taylor was on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and now she is a friend of the show on Orange County. So they're all there on the boat. Now, mind you, things are a bit tense and a bit awkward between Shannon and Tamra. Yes, they're trying to start over again, but listen, it's not like the conversation went in the best way. So, of course, feelings are still going to be hurt and they're not going to be back on track. So, as the boat is sailing and they're all having a good time drinking champagne, Tamra brings up Jen's kids and she's like, guys, you have to hear Jen's story. It's a really amazing story. And now Jenn starts talking about how she had 4 children. She used to foster all the time, never wanted to adopt until she met Dominic. So as she's telling the story of how she adopted Dominic, so Shannon interrupts Jenn and she's like, oh my gosh, I think that's John on the boat. And they're all like, are you serious right now? So Shannon is hyper fixated on the boat next to them. And she's like, oh my gosh, I think that's John or John's son on the boat. And Jenn is really pissed. She's like, is she serious right now? I'm telling the story about how I adopted my son. And she's sitting up here interrupting me because she thinks that her boyfriend may or may not be on that boat next to us. Like, what's going on? Again, Shannon, that was rude. You look like an asshole. And I know that you're my girl and all that, but I just said again, sis, you need to work on your timing. That wasn't right. And it's giving very self-absorbed, very self-centered, like you could care less about other people and you're so worried about yourself. So everybody, for the most part, is trying to ignore Shannon's rudeness. And Heather's asking questions. She's like, oh, well, how old is your son, Dominic? And Shannon is off to the side, still talking about who she thinks is on that boat. And I was like, Shannon, you know better than that. So Tamra goes on to say that it's typical Shannon. Shannon's very self-absorbed and how she always takes. So now we see Taylor and Heather talking. Mind you, Taylor and Heather have always been friendly with each other. Heather says that she would always see her socially out and about when she'd be in LA and how they were always friendly, always cordial. So now Taylor is like, oh, hey, Heather, by the way, I'm going to be in a movie. I would love for you to join me on an audition. So Heather's like, oh, cool, sounds good. Like, let me know the information. And Heather goes over her resume about how she used to act and how she used to sing and how she still loves it. She wants to get back in it and she would love to join Taylor. So now we see everybody breaking off into pairs for the most part. And Emily and Tamra are talking. Of course, Emily's trying to get Tamra and Shannon to be close again. She's like, do you want to forgive her? Do you want to be friends again? And Tamra's like, I'm just really irritated. Like, I don't know where I stand with her. Now, Emily, why are you inserting yourself in Shannon and Tamra's friendship? And it's very evident that you don't have a storyline because you are hyper-focused on what they've got going on. Like, baby, you are not this big peacemaker. Leave it alone. And all these questions, I was going to say, girl, you are not Dr. Phil. You are not Oprah. Like, stop asking me all this. Between Gina and Emily, I don't know who I dislike more, but both of them were terrible additions to this show. And again, that's just no shade, but I have never seen it for either one of them. And this needs to be Gina and Emily's last season on this show. And I wouldn't be surprised to find out if Jenn was sent to replace one of them, because I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see one of them or both of them gone for next season. Because like I've said so many times before, Emily and Gina were never giving what the other girls were supposed to have gave, okay? In the words of the iconic Rolling Ray. Tamra screaming and all those antics, I said, girl, grow up. Like, it's not cute, it's tired, you look so dumb. And she was screaming about Shannon can go F a duck. It's like, girl, what? Again, Tamra, your antics are getting tired as well. So now it's time for them to eat. And when I tell you that shrimp looked amazing, my mouth was watering. I said, oh, girl, I would have been on that boat tearing it up. But anyhow, as they're eating dinner, Emily, of course, has to be the instigator. And she's like, Shannon, you need to apologize to Jen for interrupting her story. So Shannon apologizes for her behavior. And then Jen says, look, Shannon, it's cool. I don't need to be center of attention. Like, it's fine. So now Shannon goes on to say, well, actually, I wanted to talk to you because I was looking into fostering children and I wanted to start training, but then I got pregnant with my twins. And at this point, Tamra is irritated. She's like, Shannon, can you not read the room or something? Like, it's not about you. You always do this. You always make it about yourself. So now Shannon gets mad and she's like, look, I apologize for what I did earlier. I really thought that that was John's son on that boat. So at this point, Tamra is irate and she's drunk, and that's always a bad combination. You have Emily trying to play peacemaker. She's jumping in. And at this point, Tamra and Shannon are both like, Emily, this isn't about you. Stop inserting yourself. We've been friends longer than you've been in this group, okay? So I don't need you jumping in, trying to play peacemaker and playing both sides. And I said, thank you. Because again, Emily's just grasping at straws, and it's clear that she wants to play this peacemaker because she has no storyline of her own. So Tamra starts screaming at Shannon. She's like, you always do this. You always do this. I'm so tired. So Shannon says, look, Tamra, if I failed you, then I apologize. So now Tamra starts rolling her eyes, and now she starts screaming, and she calls Shannon a liar. Then you have Tamra saying, I can't take it anymore. I'm about to jump overboard. I was like, okay, Tamra. Again, I don't like when it's clear that somebody's doing something just for a moment. It's very obvious. It looks thirsty. It looks desperate. I had secondhand embarrassment. Girl, you've been at this for quite some time. You're an OG. You're a veteran. This whole act is beneath you. This whole scene gave me the same feeling of last season of Beverly Hills when Erica Jane was up there pretending like she was drunk on that boat. It just felt so forced. It felt fake. I wasn't amused. And then when Tamra said, girl, F you, have another drink, you're the alcoholic, I was like, Tamra, that's a very heavy accusation to throw out. And there are certain things where once they're said, there's no coming back from that. And you made a big ass of yourself on this boat. Like, I just had secondhand embarrassment. And the episode ends with it being another boat ride from hell. And Shannon's like, girl, who speaks like this? Like, who even acts this way? And I just said, Tamra, this whole thing was beneath you. You made yourself look stupid. And if I were Shannon, we would be done after that. Because how dare you call me a liar, curse me out, and then call me an alcoholic and think that I'm still gonna mess with you? Like, absolutely not. We're done. So now we open up episode 3 with it being the day after the boat ride. And we see Tamra and Jen meeting up, and they're at Cut Fitness. So Tamra's like, girl, look, they've already taken the equipment, they ripped the floors out, and it's gonna be a completely empty space by the end of this week. So of course she's emotional because remember, she opened up Cut Fitness with Eddie 10 years ago, and it was their baby. I can only imagine how heartbreaking that is to have to close down their doors, but I'm sure that they'll be able to do something else later on. So Jen is giving Tamra some encouraging words. She's like, I understand, girl, but it's gonna be okay. But then Jen reveals that she's also sad because she went to their gym for 6 years, and that's where she met Ryan. So we learned that Tamra and Eddie are gonna have a party at their gym on Friday. So it's gonna be, I guess, their closing party, and she wants everybody to attend, even Shannon. So now Jen is asking Tamra how she feels about the other night on the boat, And of course, Tamra's like, girl, I'm just so hungover. I can't believe what I said last night. And I was drinking on an empty stomach, and that's always a recipe for disaster. And I'm like, Tamra, you're too old to be blaming your bad behavior on you getting drunk. You are what, 56 years old? You've been drinking for what, more than half your life? And if you don't know how to control your liquor, then maybe it's time for you to stop drinking. You want to call Shannon all sorts of alcoholics, but girl, maybe let's look at you, because you obviously can't handle yourself. You get real stupid when you get drunk, Tamra. So I just said, again, sis, all these excuses, I'm not here for it. I liked how Jen said, I love you, Tamra, but let's be clear, you do owe Shannon an apology. And she does. I was actually surprised that Tamra did admit that she was wrong. She said, yeah, you're right. I do need to apologize. She is owed an apology. And I said, this might be the first time in history that Tamra has ever owned up to something and said, you know what, I was wrong. So now Tamra brings up that there was a time when she and Jen were on the outs and they weren't speaking. And Jen says, girl, I know it was a really weird time. My marriage was ending. Then I had my relationship with Ryan. It was a lot going on. People were talking about me, and it was just a whole lot. So Tamra says, look, Jen, when you were going through whatever you were going through, I did not want your ex-husband, Will, to think that me and Eddie were keeping secrets from him, like we knew something that he didn't know. So now Tamra reveals that, I think it was last year or the year before, that her, Eddie, and Jenn and Ryan all went on this couples trip together to Mexico, and Ryan revealed that he and Jen did have an affair. And so to hear Jen pretty much say, well, no, that's not true, it was only an emotional affair, Tamra's like, now, girl, why are you lying? Just be honest. Because we all know Ryan has already confessed to what happened, so why don't you do the same thing? And like I said in episode 2, Jen, nobody is buying that nothing sexual happened between you guys while you were still married to Will. So Tamra goes on to add that she was really upset that Jen wasn't being honest with her and that she had to hear this from Ryan. And that was the reason why they kind of had their little tiff where they didn't speak for a while. I am really curious to find out more about this whole affair and relationship with Ryan and Jen because, again, I don't think that Jen is being honest about what really went down. I don't. Now, this short scene with Gina and Travis, and they're both studying for their real estate exam, I was like, so does Travis not have a job? He's just home all day with Gina. And also because she wants to get into real estate, now he has to get into real estate too. And Gina said, yeah, we're trying to go into real estate together so that we can bring money in and support the kids. And I was like, Gina, you really know how to pick them. Because it is apparent that Travis is not doing a whole lot. I said, why doesn't Travis have a job? Why do you guys have to go into real estate together? And by the looks of things, it doesn't seem like either one of you guys really knows your material, because when he was quizzing you, he didn't know the answers, and neither did you. And I don't see anybody buying a house from Gina either. Now, also, if memory serves me correctly, wasn't Gina trying to have a skincare brand? Did I make that up? But I remember last season, she threw a party trying to launch this skincare brand. Remember that? What happened to that? That's now defunct? And now she wants to get into real estate?
No.
It seems like Gina can't get an endorsement, a brand deal. I'm like, baby, you can't seem to work this platform. A mess. And I was looking at the OC salaries, and word on the curb is that Gina is still getting the starter salary that she got when she joined the show. And I'm like, that's sad. You've been on this show for 5 years and you're still getting $68,000. Meanwhile, Tamra is almost at $1 million. They said she's at 900,000. Heather's at 500,000. Shannon's at like 600 or 750. And even Emily is making, they said, I think 150. But they still have you at the starter salary. I said, well, girl. I said, damn, Bravo really is giving you the scraps. Like, girl, you don't have any room to negotiate because we will replace you in a hot minute. The fans don't like you too much. So take the $68,000 and make it work. But I just said, it seems like Miss Gina can't get anything off the ground. But now we see Gina telling Travis about how she met up with Jenn and she wants to be friends with Jenn, but she can't get over the fact that Jenn cheated on her ex-husband because she was cheated on in her marriage, and it hits close to home. I'm like, Gina, this cannot be your storyline all season long. Baby, if you're so affected to what happened to you in your marriage, you might need to seek some counseling and go see a therapist. And if I were Jenn, I'd be like, girl, I don't care what you think about me. Like, I could give a damn about your approval or validation. So whatever you think, sis, that's fine, but you stay over here, I'm gonna be over here. So now we jump to Shannon and John at the crystal shop, and we all know that Shannon loves the holistic approach to life. We've seen her get acupuncture done in prior seasons. She even says that she has crystals in her teeth. Now, one thing that I do because of Shannon, I love some lemons. And when she came on the show, she always said, you always have 9 lemons in a bowl. So every time I get lemons, I always make sure I get 9. So while they're in the crystal store, Tamra calls up Shannon and she says, hey, Shannon, I just want to say that I want to move forward with you, and I really want to apologize for what I said to you on the boat the other night. Now, Shannon was pretty shell-shocked at this call. She was not expecting Tamra to call her, so you could tell that it caught her off guard. And she was like, look, before I accept your apology, I need you to promise me that you will not ever talk to me the way you talked to me on that boat ever again, because that was unacceptable. That can't happen again. Like, girl, you were out of order. Now, me personally, Tamra could have apologized to me 100 times, and I would not have agreed to moving forward with her. I would say, well, thank you for the apology, but I'm good. I don't believe that just because you forgive somebody that you have to take them back and let them back in your life. No, I can accept your apology and still say, okay, I'm good. Like, please don't come near me. I don't believe in giving a whole bunch of chances to people. That's just not me. Like, I told you guys that many times, but no, like, you're not going to sit up here and talk to me crazy and disrespect me and think that I'm going to sit there and take it. You got the wrong girl. I have always been like that. And if you've been following me for a while, you guys know me. I'm like, we're not doing this. The minute you get out of line, it's a chop. Like, I'll be damned. If you slap somebody and then they defend themselves and punch you back, you can't say, oh my gosh, you shouldn't have punched me. No. The moral of the story is you shouldn't have slapped me in the first place. I think that people have this warped sense of entitlement where they feel like they get to treat you badly and still get access to you. No. The minute that you step out of line and you cross a boundary, access is revoked. You better talk to me like you have some sense. So Tamra extends the olive branch even further, and she invites Shannon and John to her party at Cut Fitness on Friday. So Tamra promises Shannon that there will be no drama. She just wants to have a good time and close down the gym peacefully. So Shannon reluctantly agrees, and she's like, okay, girl, I'll be there. But again, there better not be any drama. So now we jump to Taylor and Heather, and Heather is over at Taylor's house because Taylor wants to go over her script, because remember that she's been casted in this movie. So Taylor's like, hey girl, thank you for coming. And she says that the movie's going to be filmed in Oklahoma, and she offers a part to Heather. She's like, one of the actresses pulled out at the last minute. Would you be interested in taking her role? So Heather is like, oh, well, that's really cool, but this really isn't your part to offer me, because usually there's a proper protocol where the director or the producer will reach out to me, but it's not really Taylor's part to give me a part because it's not her movie. And that made sense to me because I was a bit shocked at Taylor offering Heather a role when I'm like, girl, you're just another actress in this movie. You're not the director where you have that power to offer anybody a role. And Heather has been in the game for quite some time. She would know better than you. So yeah, I was on Heather's side with that. Like, I mean, well, thank you for the offer, sis, but can you really offer me the role when you're not the director or the producer? So now the acting coach arrives. Her name is Lauren, and Lauren has a really great resume. She's been on Broadway several times. She was in Motown, the musical, along with other productions. So we find out that Heather and Lauren actually met some time ago, and Heather was like, oh my gosh, girl, I remember you. Like, so nice to see you again. So Taylor's going over her breathing exercises with Lauren, and now it's time for Taylor to go over the script. So we have Taylor and Heather reading their lines together, and Taylor does a pretty good job. And now we see Lauren giving some advice, Heather's giving some pointers. And again, I didn't think that Heather said anything that was rude or condescending in this scene. I thought that she was being a good friend and being helpful with her tips and tricks of what to do. I didn't see how anybody could take this in the wrong way. So now we jump to the last scene of the night, and it's the night of Tamra and Eddie's Cut Fitness closing dinner party, and everybody is there to support. Of course, Tamra's emotional. Heather's giving her words of encouragement. She's like, girl, you did a great job. I'm so proud of you. And the next chapter is going to be even better. So now Shannon and John finally arrive. And it was so funny because Shannon couldn't get the pun because they had this big sign out front that said, we cut it close. And she was like, we cut it close, we cut it closed, we cut it, like, I don't get it. And I was like, Shannon, it's a play on words because the gym is called Cut Fitness, and that expression, we cut it close, like, we cut it close because they're closing. I was like, it's okay, girl, you'll get it when you get home. So as everybody's having a good time for once, there's actually no drama. We see Gina off to the side with Heather. So she's like, hey, Heather, have you been following Jen on social media lately? Did you see her latest post? I thought it was really insensitive. Why would you post that you're so happy about your yoga studio doing well when you know that your best friend had to close her gym down? Doesn't that seem kind of shady? So now we see the clip of Jen dancing with her employees, and she's celebrating 5 years of her yoga studio being open. And she took the video, I think like 2 or 3 days before the cut party. So Heather's like, yeah, that is kind of insensitive. It's almost like she needs to read the room. So Gina goes on to say that she thinks that there's more to their friendship and how it really is tone deaf. So Heather says, look, it's Tamra's night. Let's have a good time. No drama. Don't bring this up tonight. Bring it up another time. Now, we all know how messy Gina is. She's like, it's going to be hard for me to keep this to myself the whole night. I was like, Gina is just so raggedy and just so annoying. And also, Gina, you're doing way too much. So because somebody's having a hard time, that means that you can't post your good news? That sounds absolutely crazy. So with your pea brain logic, then that means that nobody should ever post any of their good news because there's somebody out there who's not doing that well. That's what you're pretty much saying. You just want to start something for no reason because, girl, this is so uncalled for and it's so dumb. And you're thirsty and you're reaching. It's clear that you want to take Jen down a peg because, again, sis, for you to even make this a big deal is absolutely ridiculous. So now they all sit down to eat, and I loved how they had a hibachi dinner. They had the chefs come out. They're throwing the eggs to see if they could get it in their mouths. And now you have Gina, Emily, and Jen sitting next to each other. And Gina says, Jen, I thought that you and Tamra were in a fight or something because I saw your post a few days ago where you're celebrating your yoga studio knowing that your friend had to shut down her gym. So Jen is like, excuse me, what? Like, what are you talking about? So Tamra notices their conversation and she's like, wait, what are you guys talking about? So here goes Gina instigating. And she's like, well, I was just saying that I thought that you guys were in a fight because you're here closing your business and she's posting on social media that she's proud of her yoga studio still being open. And it seemed like shade to me. So now Tamra's like, well, I hope you wouldn't be shading me. Like, if you are, that's really effed up. So Jen is like, girl, not at all. All I was doing was just celebrating the 5 years that we've been open with my team. I wasn't thinking anything about your business. Like, I'm thinking about me and trying to draw more customers in. Like, again, there was no slight to you. I wasn't shading you. I was just celebrating myself being open. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. The timing is very close together. But again, there was no shade. There was no malice. I wasn't trying to shade you. Now, Jenn really seemed sincere to me in that moment. I didn't look at it as her trying to shade her friend. I think that it was really a case of, it's unfortunate that your business is closing right now, but I want to celebrate my milestone with my team. And when I posted that on social media, I wasn't thinking about what's going on with you. And like the saying goes, people are not thinking about you the way you think they are. Every waking moment is not about you. And for you to think that somebody's doing something solely because of you, you're insane. And Gina, that's really messed up of you to try to mess up their friendship because you want to be messy. I get the impression that Gina is jealous of Jenn because she wants to be closer to Tamra. And her way of getting close to Tamra is by Xing Jenn out the picture. But that was really low of you, Gina, and very petty and immature. And the fact that Heather told you, keep your mouth shut, it's Tamra's night, don't say anything, don't ruin it, you still couldn't help yourself. If I were Tamra, I would have kicked you out. Because I told you, no drama at my event, and here you go trying to start something up. And I loved how Jenn said, girl, if anybody supported your business, it was me. Like, I was a client for 6 years, okay? Like, there's no way that I would shade you. Gina, if I were Jenn, I would have cursed you clean out, and I would have told you, worry less about me and worry about that no good man of yours that doesn't even have a job. How dare you worry about, while you're still getting your starter salary 5 years later, of being on this show? Worry about that. Don't have two nickels to rub together, but you want to worry about what Jenn's posting on TikTok and Instagram. And even your BFF Emily thought that it was weird. She was like, now, usually I'm 10 toes down for my girl Gina, but even this is too weird for me. Like, why is she going so hard at Jenn? So since Gina has started this mess with Jenn, now they all start talking about the affair between her and Ryan. And now we see Gina all dramatic. She gets up from the table. She's like, you know what? I can't deal with this. I don't want to hear it. It's triggering for me because I was cheated on in my marriage. And I said, once again, sis, if you're so bothered by it, go and get some therapy, because you're obviously still not over it. But we do see Emily questioning Jenn about the affair. She's like, look, girl, I'm still confused about this whole entire timeline. When did things go down between you and Ryan? Were you sleeping with Ryan when your ex-husband would be away on business in Oklahoma? And Jenn denies it, but she's kind of stuttering through it. And I said, baby, you don't sound that confident in your answers. And like I said, just come clean, because I'm not buying this whole, well, we didn't have sex until after the divorce was finalized. I don't believe it. And you sound and look shaky every time they ask you about the timeline. So again, sis, just come clean. So nobody's buying Jenn's timeline of events. And even Emily senses that Jenn is hiding the details, but she's determined to get to the bottom of this story. And I said, Emily, focus more on getting a real storyline this season. Why are you so focused on this new girl? But the party is over. Tamra's really happy that they finally had an event where there was no drama, nobody was cursing anybody out, and she says that it was a nice send-off for Cut Fitness. Now we get to episode 4, and we finally get their taglines. I said, what's this new thing of us having to wait 4 episodes in to hear the taglines? And I have to say, I think that Shannon and Tamra have the best taglines out of everybody. So we open this episode up with the ladies getting ready for Tamra's trip to Montana. So we see Tamra, Jenn, and Heather out shopping, and they're looking at outfits and cowboy boots and cowboy hats for the trip. And we see Gina, Shannon, and Emily shopping. And I said, Gina shopping at a store with money in her pocket? That's a first. I was shocked to see it. I said, okay. The last time we saw Gina at a store, they were on Rodeo Drive when Kelly Dodd was still a cast member, and Shannon was buying Gina a whole outfit and some accessories. But I digress. So they're all talking about the trip, and Shannon brings up the Cut Fitness party. And she's like, yeah, Tamra apologized to me, but you can't just say these things and then think that's all going to go away just because you say, I'm sorry. Like, there needs to be some more action behind your words. Now, Shannon calls out Emily for being messy and bringing up the whole affair between Jenn and Ryan at Tamra's party. And now you have Gina jumping in, and she's like, I have to be honest, it's really hard for me to be around Jenn because of the affair. Like, I just can't be around somebody who glorifies infidelity, especially since it happened to me when I was married. Like, it's a trigger for me. So now Shannon says, well, girl, you're not the only one because I was cheated on too. It's a trigger for me as well. And I'm like, again, Gina, if you're that affected by Jenn, then maybe you need to go and seek out some therapy. And also, for you to act like somebody gives a damn about you, of all people, not liking them, who are you in the grand scheme of things? Whatever went down with Jenn and Ryan while she was still married, ultimately, it was her choice, it's her business, that's her burden to bear. For you to act like your opinion of her matters so much when it really doesn't. If you don't want to be friends with her, then don't. But for you to keep publicizing it like, oh, well, I don't know if I like her and I don't know if I want to be around her. Like, all right, like, don't be around her then. But don't act like your opinion holds this much weight where somebody's going to be crying and shaking and just so upset and distraught if you don't want to be their friend. And when Gina went on to say that hearing Jenn talk so casually about her affair is really hurtful, and I'm thinking, Gina, she's not really talking that casually about it. She really only brings it up because you guys keep asking her every time you see her. Also, what is she supposed to say? Is she supposed to cry every time she brings it up? Like, for you to say she's talking so casually about it, well, how else should she talk about it? And it's so funny because it seems like you have more anger for Jenn than you do for your ex-husband who cheated on you and broke up your marriage. Like, let's talk about that for a minute. Because it seems like you're giving your ex-husband a lot of grace for what he did, but you're mad at this woman who you just met a few months ago, or actually a few weeks ago, and she has nothing to do with what happened in your marriage. You would have thought that Jenn was the other woman that Matt was cheating on. The way Gina's acting, talk about I have so much anger towards her. Have that same energy for your ex-husband. So now we flip over to Tamra, Heather, and Jenn talking and shopping. And of course, they bring up Jenn and Ryan's relationship. And of course, it gets a little bit uncomfortable because Tamra brings up that Ryan is still a playboy and how he's a known cheater. So Jenn does acknowledge that yes, Ryan does have a history, and he even told her when they got together that he's never been faithful to any woman. And so she does get a bit worried about it, but she's not worried about it. And she says, look, as far as I know, he's never cheated on me. And Heather was like, girl, you need to listen when people tell you who they are because people don't change. Now, I said, Jenn, I would be alarmed. And if I were you, I would just have fun with Ryan. I wouldn't get caught up because if he can cheat on every other woman that he's ever been with, please believe that you are not the exception. Definitely line up some other dates on the side because you are a single woman, right? You're single till you're married. You can't file taxes with a boyfriend, okay? So you know his history, you know what he's about, you know what he's done in the past. So I would just have some other guys lined up because I can assure you that Ryan probably has some others lined up as well. And when you even admitted that you guys had been on a break and he slept with somebody else, and you were like, no, but it was okay though because we weren't together at the time. I was like, Jenn, please, sis, play smart. Don't get played by this man. Now, when we jump to the next scene, we see Jenn at home with Ryan. He's giving her a massage, and then he brings up the girls' trip to Montana. So he's like, are you excited? And she says, yeah, but it's only going to be my second girls' trip ever because back in the day when I was with my ex-husband, I didn't go anywhere. Like, I barely had any friends. So now she brings up the conversation that she had with Tamra and Heather earlier on in the day about Ryan's past and how he's a cheater. So she's like, I love the way you love me. Everything is great. Like, I still feel good around you. The sex is amazing. But I'd be lying if I said that I didn't worry about you cheating on me. So Ryan's like, babe, we're 2 years in, okay? Like, we are not in the honeymoon phase. And I personally feel like our relationship is getting better. Like, you don't have to worry about anything. I'm in it for the long haul. Like, don't worry. Now, listen, I got the impression that Ryan is just saying what she wants to hear. I just highly doubt that this man who's never been faithful to anybody is now going to suddenly just up and change. I don't know. Listen, maybe he might, but I think that Jen, be smart. Do not put all your eggs in one basket and start seeing what else is out there too, okay? Because with his past, his history, he is known around town for being this playboy. Like, I would just tread real lightly. Like, yes, the sex might be great and you're in love and you feel so emotionally connected to this man, but still just keep it together and don't fall in so deep, okay? Because I just said, girl, just watch out. Now, when we get to this next scene with Tamra and Taylor out to dinner, Taylor, my girl, you tried it. I'm about to wear you out because I did not like how you spun the situation around. She's telling Tamra about how she offered Heather this role in the movie that she's starring in, and she lies and says that Heather came to her house to go over the script, and how Heather pretty much started shitting on the script and patronizing her and acting like, oh, like you're so cute with your little movie. And she says, she pretty much made me feel so small. So Tamara's like, oh Lord, I know exactly what you're talking about. Heather has that way about her where she makes you feel belittled. So I said, Taylor, how dare you? Because that's not what happened. All Heather said was, well, can you really offer me the part when you're not the director or the producer? Like, it's really not your place to offer me a role. It's not your movie. You're just starring in it. That's all she said. And she never even said outright, yes, I'm going to be in the movie. She said, I'll think about it. I'll see. So for you to spin this like she said yes and then took it back, that's not what happened. Also, Tamra, for you to say, oh, well, that's just how Heather is. She talks to you in a condescending way. One thing I've noticed on this cast, Heather Dubrow really triggers their insecurities because they love to say that she's condescending and this, that, and the third. And it's like, no, girl, don't project your insecurities on me. Just because she has the most money on this cast, don't act like she's snobby or she's rude. Can Heather be that way? Sometimes, but in this case, she was not being condescending. She wasn't looking down her nose on the script. She was just saying, oh, well, can you even offer me this script because you're not the producer? Like, it's not your movie. It's not your role to do that. That's all she was saying. And Taylor, how dare you try to shade Heather's career when you pulled up her IMDb and you're like, well, she's been in this movie and she had a guest role in this. Like, okay, I mean, I guess. And it's like, okay, but say what you want. She's done more than you have. And Tamra, you're just so fake. I really can't stand you either because you're sitting up there laughing and giggling about it and making shady remarks. If Heather is your girl, then why are you shading her career too? I just was not here for that. I said, say what you want. Heather might not be an A-list star, but don't act like she hasn't done anything. She does have some credits to her name. Give her props. And also, let's just say that Heather does feel like the role or the script isn't good enough for her. She's allowed to feel that way. I don't know why you're so offended by the fact that she's not jumping up and down to be a part of this movie. That's her right. Maybe she has another obligation at the moment. I don't know why you're just so upset at the fact that she isn't sure if she wants to be part of this project. But now it's the day of Tamra's trip to Montana, and everybody's at the airport except for Emily. We learned that Emily tested positive for COVID, so she has to stay home and she has to miss out on the trip, and she's annoyed. Gina's upset. She says, what am I going to do without my best friend? Like, who am I going to cuddle with? Because me and Emily always share a room and we always share a bed. And I was like, girl, we really don't care that much. Like, we don't care to see you guys be the bootleg Sonia and Ramona. Like, again, sis, we don't care. Now they finally touched down in Montana, and now they get driven to their accommodations. So there's this gorgeous villa, and then there's a bunkhouse. So we see that Gina, I think Taylor, and Jenn are all going to stay in the bunkhouse. And then it's Heather, Shannon, and Tamra in the villa. Now, the villa was gorgeous. I didn't care too much for the bunkhouse. I definitely would have stayed in the villa. Now, I thought it was interesting because Gina kept harping on the fact that these next few days it's going to be her and Jenn, and she's going to hope that she can get to know Jenn and stop judging her. Once again, Gina, nobody gives a damn about your opinion. So the fact that you want to sit up here and judge Jenn and talk about, oh, well, I don't know if I want to be her friend. and hopefully I can get to know her and put my issues with her to the side. You're in a one-sided beef with her, sis, because I can assure you Jenn probably isn't even checking for you like that. So while you're holding all these feelings of animosity, Jenn probably doesn't even care. I know I wouldn't. Now, Shannon was getting on my nerves the way she made the biggest deal about what room she wanted. She was like, well, I don't want that room. I don't know if I want that room. It's too small. It's too this. It's too that. They were like, girl, this house is beautiful. Just pick a damn room. I was like, Shannon, please don't be difficult. Please don't be that person. But now we see them all going to ride a mechanical bull. This part was cute. I have to say, I've done that like twice. And each time I have not lasted longer than like 6 seconds. I don't care what anybody says. That is a skill to be able to ride a mechanical bull. Like, that is no joke. But anyhow, they all finished doing that, and now they all eat some lunch. Now that spread, now that steak had my mouth watering. I said, let me find out that I need to go to Montana. Because again, that steak, that ribeye.
I love it. I love it.
So as they're eating, Tamra says, well, since Jenn and Taylor are the newbies, tell us something that we don't know about you guys. So Taylor reveals that she's bisexual and that she had a girlfriend before she got married. They dated for like 5 years. And she goes on to say that she doesn't advertise it, but she is bisexual. And she falls in love with people's souls and personalities and people who just love her. But I saw her on Watch What Happens Live right after, and she was saying that her mom didn't even know that she was bisexual. So I was like, well, girl, how did you have a girlfriend for 5 years and your mom didn't know? Like, did you hide your girlfriend from your mom? Like, I want to know how that worked. Were you a secret bisexual? Were you open about it? Like, again, girl, I want some more details on that. And then we learned from Jenn that she used to be a flight attendant, and that's how she met her ex-husband. She says that he was on a flight and he was in law school at the time. They fell in love. They were dating long distance, and that's how it came to be. Now, I think it was Gina who was talking about, oh, okay, like that's really cool. And then we learned that Gina used to be a flight attendant too. I said, girl, for what airline? Let me not be shady. So now you have Gina talking about, oh, well, she's intrigued by Jenn now, and she wants to know more, and her bad feelings of Jenn are going away. And I said, and once again, sis, who are you? Why do you think that your opinion is so important regarding how you feel about Jenn? So Shannon gets up abruptly. She's like, oh, excuse me, I have to make a call because the person who's supposed to watch my girls can't watch them. So they're all like, wait, what? Well, aren't your girls 18? They can't be home by themselves for a few days? Like, and also, where's John? Why can't he watch them? So Shannon's like, look, guys, I don't want to talk about it. So now she gets up and walks away. And now they all start talking about Shannon and John's relationship. So they all say that they don't think that John is in it for the long term. And they're like, if that's your boyfriend of 3 years, why can't he get his ass to your house and watch your kids while you're away? Now, if you don't know the news, Shannon and John actually broke up right after the season wrapped. They said that John broke up with her and he's dating like somebody half his age. A hot mess. It seems like a lot of these men are opportunists. I kind of got the impression that Shannon liked John more than he liked her, especially when they kept asking, okay, are you going to marry Shannon? And he kept making excuses. I was like, I don't know, something's not right here. But hearing that, you know, John is nowhere to be found now, it's like, it is a bit weird. Now, I already knew that Shannon didn't have to make a call. We know that every time Shannon is on a trip, she loves pulling pranks. So we see her in the saloon and she has on like that old school barmaid outfit and she's getting into character before the other women come into that saloon. So now they're like, is Shannon lost or something? Like, where is she? It's been a good 15, 20 minutes. So they all say, let's go into the saloon and get some drinks. And they walk in and Shannon comes out, a platter of shots in her costume. And they're like, oh, okay, so that's what you were doing. So as they're taking shots, Tamra walks over to Shannon and she's like, look, Shannon, I love you. I miss us. Like, let's just be best friends again. I really love you. So now they take shots and even Shannon says that them being in Montana and having fun, it feels like old times and it feels like they never even fought in the first place. I said, now, girl, you're saying all this right now, but I already know, give it a few more weeks, you guys will be back at each other's throats yet again. They have a very toxic and volatile relationship. Her, Vicky, and Tamra, they're all, I know that they're Tres Amigas, but they got a lot of issues. So now we see Heather and Taylor talking off to the side, and Heather wants to know how the movie's coming along, and Taylor's like, you know what, I don't really want to talk about it. So Heather's like, girl, what's with the attitude? So then she says, look, I didn't think that you were serious when you asked me about being a part of the movie. So now Taylor says, well, I got the impression that you felt like you were too good to work with a rookie. And Heather's like, girl, those are your own insecurities because I am happy for you. I'm rooting for you. Like, there's no shade over here. Like, you're taking it the wrong way because I didn't mean it any sort of way. All I was saying was, well, I don't know if that's your place to offer me a role when you're not the director or the producer. That's all I was saying. So now Taylor's asking Heather if the producers did reach out to her about accepting the role. Would she say yes? So Heather says, well, I don't know yet. I would say, let me look over the script, check my schedule, and I'll get back to you. And that's a fair answer. And Heather, I was just as confused as you were because I don't understand what the issue is. Taylor, it seems like you are reaching because you just want a storyline, but baby, this ain't it. This makes no sense. I'm still confused as to why you're mad and what you're mad about. So Heather's like, girl, are we all right? Like, are we cool? And Taylor's like, yeah, like we're fine. So now they walk away to sit down, and now here goes Tamra throwing Taylor under the bus. She's like, Taylor, be honest. Tell her what you told me at dinner the other night where you said that the director wasn't impressed with her IMDb. And baby, the way Heather started clearing, she said, wait a second. So my IMDb isn't good enough, but yours is good enough, and this is only your first movie. Got it.
You not fab like that to be doing all of that. Learn your place, earn your spot.
So at this point, Heather and Taylor go at it. Heather starts running down her credits, and you have Gina talking about, I'm just so confused as to why Taylor's mad, and I'm really confused to see Heather acting like somebody stole her Oscar, and she's sitting up there acting like she's Judi Dench or something. And I'm thinking, Gina, shut up. Like, you don't have a dog in this fight. Just keep your mouth closed. So now Taylor starts insulting Heather. She's like, well, I just thought that somebody with your pedigree was looking down on me. And Heather's like, pedigree? What am I, a dog? Are you serious right now? So Heather calls out Taylor for being condescending and rude. And now Tamra makes things worse by throwing in the fact that Taylor was even laughing at Heather's IMDb and saying that it wasn't impressive. So you have Taylor backpedaling. She's trying to lie her way out of it. And when I tell you that Miss Heather went in and I was here for it, I said, come through, Miss Dubrow. Heather goes off. She says, for you to denigrate my career is anti-female and is rude. How dare you? I put my life on hold and my personal goals and dreams on hold to take care of my family. I'm sure that everybody in this room can relate to my struggle. For you to sit up there and make fun of what I've accomplished over the years, while I've been nothing but a good friend to you and excited for you, and you being in your first movie, like, you've got me effed up. You trying to shit on me and my career, Taylor, is disgusting, and F you. And that's where the episode ends. Again, Miss Heather shut it down. I was here for it. Taylor, you tried it. And like I said earlier, I'm just so confused as to how you feel like Heather was being condescending, and for you to act like you're the victim in all this, and then for you to project your insecurities onto Heather and turn it around and say that she made you feel a type of way. No, you already felt that way. You're the one who feels insecure when you're around this woman. How dare you? And baby, you only have one credit to your name, and now you want to come for this woman who actually has a career, and for you to shit on that and act like that's nothing, that's really evil, and it's petty, and it's messy of you. Now, Tamra, you want to stir the pot and run your mouth. Let's talk about how you were sitting up there laughing and having a kiki at Heather's career and her IMDb page like you weren't impressed. You're not a good friend either. You play both sides of the fence. I don't like that. Just a hot mess. But yeah, guys, that was my triple recap. I hope you all enjoyed. I am all talked out. But yeah, guys, thank you all so much for watching. And you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.